Have you ever had time to yourself and instead of actually enjoying it, you spend the whole time feeling guilty about it? Like you finally get a moment, nobody needs anything from you, and instead of relaxing into it, your brain starts listing all the reasons you shouldn't be enjoying this. And I used to do this all the time, and I want to talk about what's actually going on when that happens because it's not what you think. So, hi, I'm Mercedes. For those of you that don't know me, I am a solo parent who knows what it's like to just get rare windows of space and then waste it by feeling terrible about having it. But I've also studied nervous system regulation, polyvagal theory, somatic healing, and lots of other things as well. And I know it's not a mindset thing. There's a reason why your body does this. And I have also lived this exact pattern, and not like a long, long time ago, but very recently. So it's things that I've experienced and that I'm working through. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand that why guilt hijacks your rest. And it's not a character flaw, trust me. What's actually happening in your nervous system when you can't relax, and how to start letting yourself have space without apologizing for it. Okay, so what I'm going to cover in this video, so you know what's coming up basically, is what guilt pattern actually looks like. So what the pattern is, so you can recognize it in the future as well. Why your nervous system creates guilt when you rest. What's the difference between real rest and guilt-filled rest? And this is really important. Where the pattern comes from, and it's not about you being dramatic, which you might have heard said, but it's not that. And how to actually start savouring and enjoying your alone time instead of apologising for it. So let's get into it. So what does the guilt pattern actually look like? So what you might notice is you get some time alone. So it could be a weekend. So for me, it's like I get a weekend away from my son, or occasionally it's like the evening when these are the short times that he's with his dad. And it could be anything. It could be time away from a partner, or just time away from work, or having space from friends as well. Whatever it is that you get space from, you get that space. And instead of kind of just enjoying that space, your brain starts scanning for the reasons you shouldn't enjoy this. And you start thinking about the person you're not with, or people, or whatever it is that you're got that time away from, and the thing that you're not doing. And this is how you think you should be spending your time. So for me, it's like I will have time away from my son and I'll start to really enjoy that alone time. And then I'll feel guilty because I'm like, well, I should be missing my son more because I love him so much. So I should be missing him. So that kind of adds that guilt. It's like, well, actually, why am I enjoying my time away from him so much? And I can go into that whole pattern of, but if something happened to him and he was never here again, it would be like devastating. And I'm kind of conflating what is the worst case scenario with enjoying a bit of time alone, which doesn't mean I don't love him, but it can get conflated in our brains. So, and the other thing that can also happen when you're alone is you can start to manufacture urgency. So you might suddenly come up with this long list of things that you need to do, rather than just enjoying the space. So you might suddenly have to clean the entire house, or reply to a load of messages, or do something productive just to justify that space on your own. And then by the time it's over, you didn't rest, you didn't take some space for yourself, you performed busyness inside your own alone time, inside the time that you had for you. And I am very guilty of this still. I try and work in, when my son isn't around, time to actually just relax and reset and not fill every single moment with tasks that I need to do. But for me, it's more the emotional guilt. So I will feel guilty, even if I'm doing those tasks and I'm enjoying doing those tasks, I will feel guilty for enjoying doing them without having to deal with him at the same time. So the reason your nervous system creates that guilt when you rest, we can go into that in a bit more detail, because although it's the brain that's doing it, a lot of it's coming from the nervous system. So if you've spent a long time in a caregiving or a high demand role, your nervous system adapts to being needed. Okay, so that's like the norm and the baseline. So we are used to being needed, and we're used to having something that we have to do for other people. So when that drops, what happens is we would think, oh, we relax, but it's different. So the nervous system sees this as different, and different to the nervous system is dysregulating. So we can actually dysregulate the nervous system by having alone time because we're not used to it. And then that nervous system is sending that dysregulation, this dysregulated feelings all the way up to the brain. So the brain then creates its story around why I'm dysregulated. And it's important to say that if you're feeling guilty, whatever reason it is, it's not a moral signal. Okay, so you're not getting some kind of like moral judgment on it. It's a nervous system response to unfamiliar stillness. So we're actually just having a reaction to something that is unfamiliar. Your body is so used to being on, and I'm very guilty. I'm very used to, like, my son is, when he's around, he gets my attention and everything I'm doing is around him. And it's really hard to focus on anything that's not child related. And so when he's not here and I have that space, and my days feel really long. So if I have a Saturday when he's not here and he's not here for the whole day, I have this entire Saturday, right? The whole day with nothing but stuff that I want to do. And it feels like a really, really long day. But by the end of it, I'm like, oh, I can breathe. It's like so relaxing because I've had this space to myself. But then the guilt comes in because there's a little bit of that underlying, oh, should I really be enjoying this feeling that's coming from the nervous system because it's not what I'm used to? And it's that thing. So we're creating that guilt through the dysregulation. And it's why if you just tell yourself I deserve rest, it doesn't work. So especially if your nervous system, and I'm getting a lot better at this because I've been practicing this over time. If your nervous system is wired to interpret rest as danger because we're used to being on all the go, then the guilt will keep coming back no matter what you try and think about it. So we're not trying to think our way out of this guilt because we're dysregulated. Our body is like, there's something wrong. So the brain's like, oh, maybe it's because I'm starting to enjoy this and I shouldn't be enjoying this. So it's then creating these guilt feelings. And so what we need to do is kind of work out how we can tame that reaction and get ourselves comfortable with having that alone time and that rest with no one else around. So we can talk a little bit about the difference between what is real rest and what is guilt-filled rest. And they can feel very different in the body. So when we have real rest, your body will actually settle. And this is something I will feel after a period of time. So your shoulders drop, your breathing slows, and you stop scanning. You just actually allow everything to go. You let go of everything. Like we stop holding because we're so used to holding on to stuff. We're holding to this task and this responsibility and that responsibility. And we hold on to it all really tightly. And when we rest, we can actually allow ourselves to just, if it's only briefly, just put all that stuff down for a little while. And that's what real rest actually feels like. We stop holding it. But guilt-filled rest can actually look like rest from the outside, but you're still activated. So your nervous system is still activated. It's still scanning for danger. It's still stressed out. So you might be lying on the sofa relaxing, but your mind is racing. It's working out what you need to do. It's planning things. It's doing all this stuff. You're alone, but you're not actually present in that aloneness. You're somewhere else. And this is where it comes down to working on mindfulness and present moment awareness and coming back into who we actually are and where we actually are so we can tune that in. And one of them, so the real rest will restore you and the guilt-filled rest will actually deplete you, but you feel like you should be restored from it. So now we've got another layer of guilt, another layer of shoulding because you've been resting. You don't feel like you've rested. So now you feel worse. But now you feel guilty because you've had time alone and you feel worse. So like maybe there's something wrong with me because I just need more rest. And this is why you can take the whole weekend off and still feel exhausted on Monday because you're not really letting go of the things that you're holding on to. You're not resting. You're sitting still, but your nervous system is staying in overdrive. So we kind of have to work on a different approach in order to bring that nervous system down to allow us to be able to really rest. So this kind of comes from, we all kind of gather this from different ways, but basically, if you grew up in an environment where rest was considered lazy, or your needs came last, or you had to earn the right to stop, your nervous system will have learned that rest is not safe. And that can happen for lots of different reasons. And it's not like a deliberate thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone's done something to you. But we live in a culture, we've been brought up in a culture of productivity. So we brought up in a culture of we need to be doing stuff. And it starts from a really young age when we're at school. So we go to school, we come home, we do homework, we have to do chores at home. We've got task. And we have to like earn our playtime essentially. And that always kind of filters through to as we get older. And so our nervous systems have been primed from a very young age that just doing nothing, that having that time, space to ourselves, or we can do whatever it is we want to do, that is not safe. And you may have found that if you're in relationships, any kind of relationship, I don't mean romantic, it could be any relationship with anybody, interaction, where taking space was met with punishment or withdrawal, you would have learned that it was very unsafe to have that alone time. And so it can add another layer, and that would be additional trauma layered on, and that can actually add even more to the feeling guilty around rest. But you may not have experienced big traumas, it may be small traumas, but it all adds up. And whatever it is that you've experienced that's caused this, your nervous system has learned this pattern. And it isn't actually a mindset problem, because a lot of the time we think these things, we think, we're thinking it in our brain, so it must be a mindset problem. But it's a patterned response. So we have developed a pattern of not feeling safe when we are resting. So our body has equated danger with stillness. So stillness means danger. That means there's something wrong. And one of the things that I used to suffer from is if I had these moments of quiet stillness that felt good, and I don't do this anymore, I used to do it quite a lot when I was younger, my mind would, and my body would get so dysregulated that my mind would imagine that because everything is so nice now, something bad is bound to happen. And I would catastrophize the thinking that, oh my goodness, what's going to happen now because I've had this lovely time to myself, that something bad will happen. And again, that is a nervous system reaction. So I talk all the time about how most of our messages between the body and the brain with the nervous system go from the body to the brain. It's about 80% and only about 20% from the brain down to the body. So when we're getting these thoughts about something bad's going to happen, or I feel guilty, all of this stuff happens in our brains, it's because our body is sending these unsafe messages to our brain, and our brain is just interpreting it in the best way it knows how. But we need to calm the body before we can start working on changing the messages that the brain is creating, essentially. So you won't necessarily be able to trace this pattern back to a specific event, and it's not important to do that. You just need to recognize that the guilt isn't coming from the present moment, that it's stored, it's built up, and it's learned over time. So what can we do about it so that it doesn't take over and we can start shifting this pattern? Well, the first thing to do, and this is really important, something that I do all the time, is if it comes up, is to just notice the guilt. We don't have to do anything about it. We don't have to obey it. We don't have to act out on it. We just have to notice it and know that it's going to show up and be fine with that. And it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It means your nervous system is adjusting. So essentially what you're doing is you're letting the guilt be there without changing any of your behavior, without acting on it, without doing anything around it. We're just being aware, non-judgmentally, that the guilt is there. And then you want to actually come into your body, so land into your body. So when you get that alone time, don't just immediately fill it with tasks or do things. Come into your body, sit for a minute, feel your feet on the floor, notice the quiet, notice the being alone, and let your nervous system register that you're safe and nothing bad is happening. So give yourself that time to regulate, to calm, to come into the body and to know what that actually feels like. And then to stop justifying alone time with productivity, because this is really important, because this is kind of how we will, oh, it's okay, I can do this because I'm going to be really productive. So you don't need to clean, meal prep, or finish a project to earn the right to have been alone, okay? Space is actually enough, and doing nothing is enough. So giving yourself that space to do something maybe you enjoy, something that brings you pleasure, and allowing that to be the fact that you're doing, and noticing what comes up. So what we want to do then is to catch the apology reflex, because we will start to say, oh, I'm sorry, I was, I had a bit of time alone, I'm sorry I didn't do that. Or we start to apologize for not doing anything. So start to notice how often you explain or justify the need for space. So if you need space, do you then start justifying why you need it? Okay, we can start to stop doing that. We can just say I need a little bit of alone time. So instead of saying, sorry, I wasn't around, I just needed a minute, you're allowed to have space without a disclaimer. You're allowed to just say, I'm just going to have a bit of alone time, right? That's it, right? You don't need to explain, justify, or share. Now, one of the things that you might find is this is quite tricky at first because it's all about just noticing and not actually trying to shift too much, although we're shifting a lot at the same time, and you're still going to have those feelings going on. So we can spend more time doing activities that will regulate our nervous system, that will calm us, and that will bring us back into our bodies. But also we are allowing the guilt to be there, because what happens is we'll feel the guilt, and then we feel like we have to do something about it or push it away or fix it. And actually that action stops us from acknowledging that guilt is something we're feeling and why we're feeling it. And sometimes just that acknowledgement will allow it to relax and release and allow us that space to be okay. And for me personally, I'm quite good at having relaxation time when I'm on my own. I'm quite good at creating that. My biggest thing comes around the emotional guilt for enjoying that time without my son, because that's another layer that comes into it. So if you actually start to enjoy your alone time, you then may feel guilty that you're enjoying time away from the people that you love. And again, it's being aware of that and regulating it and accepting. And this is where we come into the knowledge of feeling that love in our bodies, but also feeling the enjoyment of that space, because we can love someone and enjoy the space away from them. And that's okay as well. We don't have to be all kind of shoved together without any alone time and not enjoying it. So it's the double whammy, because sometimes those people that you love, that you're with, it involves a lot of effort and work to be around them, because there are tasks that need to be done in those relationships. And that's like that with my son. There's lots of things that I need to do when he's around, and I find it much harder to switch off and relax when he is there. And so when I get that space, I can do that, but then I feel guilty for enjoying that. So for me, it's about coming into that awareness of that guilt and accepting it and allowing it to just sit there, but still enjoying my alone time. And I've noticed that over time, the more that I've been doing that, the less strong the guilt is, because the stronger my relationship with my son is growing when we're together, because I am allowing myself that space and I'm seeing it as a positive to the bonding. So there's lots of different ways we can start to layer it. So this is about how we layer things up as well. So we notice these feelings, we sit with them, we regulate around them. And then when we're regulated, we then go on up and change the discussion in our mind, and we make those changes. But we need to start with the body and then go up to the brain always. And then we can start to make the shifts. So if this has resonated with you, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe, because it helps me reach more people who need to hear this kind of thing. And if you'd like to go deeper on your nervous system work and understand the body patterns, I have a free community on School called the Somatic Reset Lab, and I'd love to invite you to come and join me. The link is in the description, and I'd love to see you there. See you soon. Bye.